Hey there guys, welcome back to Enlarged Deck Profile with yours truly, Paul Reisman. Today we are taking a look at Ben Wade, aka Kami Blade's recent Chrono Gear Brainheart list that he's been piloting on the channel for us. Without further ado, let's jump right into things.
This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for products, and FowlLibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists, as well as our guest lecturer members King Pearlshine, Vite Ramen, Mognite, and Darren Noblock. Class is in session.
Alright guys, we're looking at the 7-star combination of Brandhardt and Stein. Very notable color combination that has been seen in Force of Will for quite some time, ever since the beginning. These colors work really well together, and so it's very much the same case now that we have the 7 stars from last set. They're getting upgraded and they're being put in robots. Very specifically, Brandhardt is being put into a robot to do some other really cool Gundam-esque shenanigans. And so let's jump right into things. So of course, right off the bat, we're playing Fire Solara Site, which means that we do not have fire magic stones outside of Scorched Bales, which you also saw at this part of the video. This card is really good for facilitating that RFG engine and that just solarization engine that has been so interesting to see develop in this recent set, Judgment of the Rogue Planet. So as we are doing this sort of stuff, we need to recognize that this is more of a red deck with some darkness in it. And the darkness is used primarily for the sudden fall, which is, in all admissions, a ridiculously good Stoning to Death 1-for-1 tool, which is very, very solid. Plus, if an ethereal resonator you control is destroyed this turn, you get to draw an additional card. I don't know how often that came up for Ben, but it's really nice that it does refund itself as a deathly skill. It's really, really kind of cool. So the win con of this deck is Perturbrance Chrono Gear, at least the first identifiable win condition. This card gets reincarnated on top of Brandhardt whenever you do Judgment of Protuberance, the Regalia version instead. And when it does, it gains a couple of effects when it's on top of Brandhardt. Not only does it get all of his original effects from Brandhardt, when he's on his J Ruler side, you also get the effect of target a J Resonator your opponent controls. This card deals X damage to your opponent, where X is the attack of the chosen target. So if the attack is 1, they deal 1 damage to their own defense. If the damage is 1,000, they deal 1,000 damage to their own defense. It's pretty interesting. What's also interesting is when you rest this card, you can buy back a fire card from the RFG if it's incarnated. I find that really fascinating that they put this really good mid-range effect on this very aggressive Chrono Gear Resonator, which is really cool. Let's go and talk about the original Brainheart for just a second. Obviously, this is still a really powerful card. This still draws you 2 and discards 1 to produce a red for activate abilities you control. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with that on Brainhardt's flip side. The seal effect is still in effect. But Brandhardt has first strike and swiftness, which he will give to his upgraded Chrono Gear self. He also has the burn effect whenever you play blazing skills, and then you can pay that red to give a blazing skill in your graveyard remnant. And you can play this only during your turn and only once per turn. So he's getting a lot of value from just flipping, and you can do that relatively easy in this deck, all things considered, even though we don't have Flaming Thoughts anymore. So when you put your Chrono Gear on top of it, you suddenly get 2 really good mid-rangey effects on top of a swiftness, first strike. I can burn you when I play my stuff, give my stuff remnant in the graveyard, plus I'm a 14/12. Hope that's okay with you. This card is absolutely insane for that. What's really cool is it also works in combination with Electra's Training, which is, admittedly, you don't need the swiftness effect from this, but you do get the +4/+4 and Barrier. This is definitely more of a locals card in this particular list. I just think it's a really neat little synergy that goes on with this, and I know that Ben really appreciates this card in particular. He and I had a little bit of a conversation about that, so he does really like this card. Of course, the namesake and the artwork here features not only Brandhardt but Electra. Backup win con number 2 is Electra Shooting Star of Fire. Just comes in, wins the game. Damage can't be prevented. there's a lot of dark tree. A lot of dark tree at our locals, as you might guess right now. Between Dalton and Dan both running dark tree, Electra is kind of a mandatory card at this point if you want to do well in any sort of tournament setting. So Electra is really good for that. She comes in, burns the board for 16, burns your opponent for 16. Anything that's been done damage on the field cannot attack or block. And anything done to your opponent by this card's effect means they can't play spells that turn. And damage can't be prevented. Boom. Another card that's in the deck, I don't know if this is necessarily a win condition, but it certainly facilitates danger, is Brainheart Sparks. So if you play this with Solarization, you get 5/5/3s that have belligerence, which is really solid. Whenever they are destroyed, not banished, destroyed, you get to draw a card, then discard a card. So they're kind of there to help sort of fuel graveyards and stuff like that, which is just really helpful. And this card is just, decent. I mean, you're putting 5 tokens onto the field for 1, essentially, right? Not only that, you're recycling good stuff back into your deck. So for the Blazing Skills, we're playing 2 Blazing Burst, 4 Burning Storm, and then 4 Boys Staring At. Counts as a Blazing Skill in the graveyard, plus it just draws you a card. If it's sent from the hand to the graveyard, you draw a card as well. Probably would want to see more Blazing Burst, and he's already got 4 Blazing Skills, Burning Storms here, excuse me. But this card is certainly decent. I would definitely like to see more of the burn spell, because even if this card goes to the graveyard, you still have a lot of things you can do while chaining it to your sudden fall spell. So that's just kind of wild. It allows you to do some pretty fun chain things in that particular regard. But I mean, it's still totally fine. If you're discarding primarily because you're playing Conclave, this is a good way of just refilling your hand and just getting more cards into your hand. Cycling cards is just really good for Brainheart in general. The Solara Sire package includes 2 of the Solara Sire Guard of Fire. When this card enters the field, it deals 800 to target up to 1 target J Resonator. You remove the top card of your deck from the game, and then you can take something from your RFG and put it into your hand. So it just kind of keeps things moving in that regard, which is really helpful. It's also a 9/6, which is respectable, especially if you can put it out for 1. That's really, really good. We're also playing Warrior of Solara Sire. This card basically just can come out for free if you have it on turn 1. Your ruler shares an attribute with it, and if you don't control any resonators, you can just put it into the field. Absolutely nuts. Very, very, very cool. With Solarization, you get your Solara Sight, removes a card, you can tuck it, and then this card is basically just free. And when it's destroyed, you can remove a fire card to bring it back from the graveyard. So this card is okay. It's definitely got Belligerence, which is helpful in getting rid of really crazy things. It has the same stat line as the tokens, which I think is kind of the whole point of that. But he's there. He helps facilitate some interesting things. And he's a cool body. Plus, he's a Gundam. Who doesn't like Gundams? The last cards we have in the deck are Yggdrasil to search for your Perturberance. Really solid, and it just lets you produce will to play your Perturberance too, which is really solid. We're playing Sudden Fall for that sweet 1-for-1 removal, and Ethereal Solara Sire, which is a really interesting choice in this particular list. One thing I can think of with this is if you play your token generator and then just sack them all to this card, including itself, you're making your opponent lose 1200 life, which is definitely relevant in a tree-filled locals meta like ours. So I really like this card for that particular reason. I don't know if I would play 4, but I can see what the thought process is with this particular card. Of course, you're playing 6 Solara Sight of Fire, 4 Scorched Bale, so you have access to darkness. And then in the sideboard, because you play Electra, you have Longsword. I don't know if I would play Longsword. I think I might look for a different armament instead, because my J-Ruler already gains Swiftness. That being said, the trade-off here is your J-Resonators gain just 200 attack in general. So now all of your tokens are 7/3s, your other guys are 7/3s, your Electra is an 18/16, So, you know, there's some value in this card. I'm not going to completely knock it. We're also playing Maya Wild Estrella in the sideboard, so you can just completely pivot and play things like Replicant Shiva in the main board. You can also play Stepping on a Tiger's Tail alongside Wild Conquest to get rid of stuff on the field and just buff your J Resonator for just big damage. Very interesting to see these cards in the sideboard. I really appreciate the hustle of just transformational side. Plus, you also have your 4 green red stones, Magic Stone of Blasting Waves in the sideboard to make that transition a little bit easier. So, really cool deck. A lot of really interesting ideas going on in this. I really do appreciate this new take on Brainhardt, but what do you all think? Do you like where this deck is heading? Are there some ideas that you would bring into your own deck? Let us know down in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, hit subscribe and ring that bell and hit the like button, because those all really help the not only the video, but the channel kind of get the word out about this amazing card game we all love. Plus, while you're also down there, go into the description and check out rulerschooltcg.com. That is where you can get tons of different articles and sign up for events and look for just tournament data and all this other kind of stuff that you would really value as a Force of Will player. It's your one-stop shop for all things Force of Will, besides our YouTube channel, right? So check it out. Go into the description. With all that being said, guys, this has been Paul, and I'll see you all in the next video.